My first story is something from my childhood. It's about a vacation I went on and like why I'm absolutely terrified of sharks. Like when I was 8 years old, my parents took me, my brother, and my sister on this vacation to Martha's Vineyard. And it's this island off the coast of Cape Cod, and it's like really nice. And it's also the same island where Jaws was filmed. So, as an 8-year-old, they thought that this was the perfect time and place for them to show me the movie Jaws for the first time. So, like, they're showing me Jaws on the island where Jaws was filmed, and then they expect me to go, like, swim in the water where, like, that little kid had gotten eaten. Like, oh, Steve, don't worry, like, we'll just show you this traumatizing movie and then expect you to jump off the same pier. It'll be fine, don't worry. So, like, ever since then, I've had this kind of fear of getting in the water, and, like, whenever we've been to Florida, it just follows me wherever I go, even if it's, like, Lake Erie or something, or anywhere. I'm just afraid that there's going to be a shark there because of that. Just because of their choices as to when they want to show me a terrifying movie. So, actually, after college, I went back to that same island for like a summer job, and I was driving taxis there. And one of the things I had to do was like give tours to like people who like wanted to drive around the island for a couple hours. Like normally that's not something you do, just take people from point A to point B, but like sometimes people just wanted to check out the island for the day. And like I didn't know anything about this place at all. Like I didn't live there or anything. So like you could just honestly make things up. And like I would just make things up about these like really nice houses where people lived at because they didn't know either, and they would just believe you. Like I would tell people like, oh yeah, that's Oprah's house over there, or like that's Bill Murray's house over there, and that's like, yeah, just don't like spend too much time around that area because like he gets really mad if you like try and take pictures when you drive by. So just like be really cool in case you ever see him, or like, yeah, that's where like Meg Ryan lives, and like just try and keep it on the down low in case you see her. She's had some work done, so like don't stare at her too long if you see her out at a restaurant or something. But like just like mostly just BSing my way through a tour, which is, I don't know, fun, and the people seem to like it because they feel like you're giving them insider information, so they just like tip you a little extra. It's great.
Would you care to tell us which one is true and which one is false? Or
yeah, that first one's true.
The whole Jaws incident, the traumatizing
parents.
Sucked.
The second one is false. Like I would never lie to people about stuff like that. I don't know. I would feel too guilty after lying to them for 2 hours of like, oh yeah, this famous person lives here and that famous person lives there. I feel like I would just get caught in the lie of like making up houses and stuff.
Or if you ended up getting like a big tip for giving them fake insider information.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, here's an extra 5 or 10 or something like that. You're like, I just made all that up.
Yeah. I just couldn't do it to those people. But I could do it to you.
When I was in 8th grade, my best friend, he was a bit more worldly than me, I think is a good way to put it. He had done things that other 8th graders hadn't done, like smoked weed, he'd been to parties, he'd had sex fairly often. And when he came back into town after moving away for a while, he decided to set his sights on whichever girl that I liked. So I would start liking a girl, I'd tell him, he'd either make out with them, or in one case, the girl I really, really liked, this girl named Susan. I was head over heels for her in an 8th grade sort of way. We would talk on the phone for hours about absolutely fucking nothing. It was wonderful. And one night when I was going to go over to her house and we were going to, I don't know what, because I was in 8th grade. I didn't know what. My dream at the time was to kiss her repeatedly. That was like, I didn't even know about tongue kissing at the time. I mean, I'd seen it in movies. But I was like, ooh, that sounds exciting. Well, he found out about this. And he called her out. He called her up first. And when I went to her house, she wasn't there. And her mom didn't know where she was, and they got worried and everything like that. And that night, he did stuff with her and kind of took who I thought at the time was the love of my life away. And like she came up to me the next day and apologized about what had happened and blah, 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 blah. And I couldn't blame her because in 8th grade he was much better looking than I was. I was kind of short and fat and awkward and had this long, nasty hair that I didn't exactly wash right. I either washed it too much and it was all dry and frizzy, or I didn't wash it enough, it was greasy and nasty. You know, it's 8th grade. Who's got their shit together in 8th grade except for people who 10 years later won't have anything together? Yeah, so he'd done this multiple times to me, and then one night at my friend James's birthday party, he ended up in bed with James's older sister. She was 16. He was in 8th grade. And I saw this, and I didn't tell James. It would have set him over the edge. Like, it was ultimate betrayal. So, I didn't tell him. I kept a secret because I was a good friend, really a tool. But a couple weeks later, his sister, who was only a year younger than us, we had always been friends too, and I decided that I was going to make out with his sister, and I did. And it was all right. It wasn't really like passionate or loving. I was cognizant that somebody's lips were on me. There was no emotion behind it. It was kind of weird. But the next day, I had convinced her to lie to him with me and say that I had fingered her, which was back then as far as most people were, hey, this is like the Mac, this is all the way in 8th grade, right? And so we got into a huge fight. We ended up throwing toys at each other. The fists were flying in awkward ways because, again, we were in 8th grade. We didn't know what we were doing. And I ended up throwing him over my head, and he landed with his back on Buzz Lightyear. And it did something to his shoulder where he had to go to the hospital. I don't even remember what it was anymore. And all of this was just over the fact that I had said, and not actually done it, that I had said I had fingered his sister after he had done so much, not worse, but yeah, so much worse to so many other people. So, and I still stayed friends with him. Probably not the best decision in the world. So this is a story about the first time I fell in love, all right? I'd been in a long-term relationship already for 8.5 years, from my sophomore year of high school till the year after college. It was a really long time, and we had grown apart in a lot of ways for a really long time. It was pretty bad, and I had really bad anxiety issues that I didn't really know about, and I was in therapy at the time for them, but my girlfriend at the time just didn't understand that. She would still take me to all these places that I didn't want to go. She thought that sensory overload was the answer. She was first year grad student of psych, so clearly she knew everything about psychology, right? And it was a bad situation. And one day, when I was working at a 7-Eleven, this girl walked in, and I fell in love with her without hesitation right away. Stupid love at first sight, complete bullshit that doesn't exist, but it was there, you know. I didn't know a thing about her. And in all honesty, she wasn't even like all that pretty or together. Like, she was a mess. She looked like she hadn't bathed in a couple days. Like, the clothes were clearly old that she was wearing, and like the whole thing was like, it was like a warning sign. Like, this person is messed up. You don't want to be with this person. And having been in a relationship, I could tell by the loose-fitting clothes and stuff like that, and the fact that she was buying like a mountain of chocolate. It was probably a time, you know, around that time. So maybe that was it. But either way, I saw her and I ran into the cooler because I was still with the 8.5-year-long girlfriend, and I hid and I had a panic attack and it was awful. And I let my coworker ring her out. But about a week later, she came back in. I couldn't avoid her. There was no way. I was the only person there. I had to ring her out. And she came in with her boyfriend at the time, and her boyfriend was this awkward, gangly, he was like 19 with all these little nasty fucking gremlin teeth. He smelled like patchouli and ass stink. It was, ugh. He looked like, I don't know, maybe somebody who followed around Metallica in the 80s for too long. His curly, long hair, almost, it was so greasy it looked like he had Jerry curl in it. Anyway, but I was talking with her, and so he started talking to me too, because I could tell he was getting that kind of jealous thing. And I learned her name. And in the store, on her phone, she friended me on Facebook. And at the time, I only had a flip phone. I mean, everybody had smartphones. I still had a flip phone. And I was like, well, shit. I don't know how to avoid this person anymore, because she clearly really wants to be my friend. And as much as I want to avoid her, I really want to be around this person. And so warning sign number 2, she already had a boyfriend. And I already had a girlfriend. Things got worse with my girlfriend, and we were talking about breaking up. And then my best friend, one day out of the blue, asked me if I want his help helping this girl he knew from class. She was going through a hard time. She had just broken up with her boyfriend, who was really abusive. And she had been to a psych ward before, and she was like a cutter, and there were all these issues that came up, and he really wanted, she was saying really cryptic things, and he wanted my help and like bolstering her, morale or whatever. I was like, I mean, sure, I'm always up to help somebody. I had no idea who he was talking about. And I thought the girl that I'd seen come into my store was around 21, not 19. And especially because we met at a bar that she got into somehow. But we go there, and boom, at the table, there's my best friend, there's that girl. And I don't know if she knew he was my best friend or not. Either way, there was no avoiding it. It was me and my best friend and her, and we were talking and talking and talking. I ended up talking with this girl for, 3 hours, while my friend kind of clearly became the third wheel. And on the ride home, I didn't know what I was feeling. I was jittery, I was shaky, I was sweating. I just felt like a mess. It was a flop sweat, and at the time I would do this thing with my hair where I was like trying to figure out how to style it right, and the sweat had just made it like fall on like one side, so it almost looked like I was an emo kid or something like that. And I drove her home, and I tried everything I could not to kiss her. She'd not get out of my car right away. She kept leaning toward me, and I was intoxicated by her smell. I don't know what it was. Pheromones, hormones, some kind of moans, I don't know. And I couldn't not. I even tried to sabotage it by saying, I've never really kissed anybody but my girlfriend. And she was like, oh, okay. And then it happened anyway. I leaned across and I kissed her, and I'd never had a kiss like that. My heart, it felt like it was going to explode. I was trembling, but it was perfect. It was like an earthquake. But here. Anyway. That happened. And I drove home half the way on the wrong side of the road. And that's the story of the falling in love the first time.
Or would you like me to
Well, the second one's true. And okay. The first one's partly true.
Partly, just tweak a little bit. Is it false though?
It's false.
That's false. Your false one. All right.
Yeah. It's about 60% truth, 40% false.
All right. There you have it.
All right.